You are listening to Claret and Blue, an Aston Villa podcast brought to you by Birmingham Live. Hello, welcome back to the Claret and Blue podcast. I almost knocked off my microphone in excitement there as we started this episode. Felt a little bit in disbelief of what I've just seen. Aston Villa have made a comeback to come back and win that game 3-1 against Fulham after a turgid 77, 78 minutes. The old cliche game of two halves. It's a game of 77 minutes and a game of 13 minutes because after Trezeguet got that first goal, Villa switched it on and brought home 3 points come through. That first 77 minutes was horrific.
Oh, yeah, it was a tough one to take, man. But it's what we all wanted. We wanted some entertainment, mate. It's I think what we all wanted. And we weren't getting that for God knows until Keenan Davis came on, maybe. Yeah, just about. The subs changed the game, didn't they? And we'll get onto the subs in a little bit. But as Phil Curley says, and I think the caption for this says, never in doubt. It was for a good while. I was having peak anxiety trying to think of what am I going to say again? Coming on 1-0 loss to Fulham. I was like, what can we? Because Matt's not even here, so we can't talk about like socks or like pork chops or.
Well, we can talk about what we want, but we don't have that usual Matt Kendrick nonsense to come on. So I was really dreading. I was really dreading this podcast, thinking even 20 minutes in, 45 minutes in, 70 minutes in, I'm thinking, I can't be bothered to talk about this. And even with the win, obviously, it's great that Villa have turned it around, but it gives us more questions than answers.
Yeah,
don't you think?
No. I think it's almost like when you perform all that. The big question is why isn't that every week? And just football, isn't it, man? Man, it's just if you're a Chelsea fan, 5-2 to West Brom, you just get footballed sometimes. And Villa have been footballed for since December, mate. So we've had it tough. We haven't had it tough for them as tough as many clubs, but it's still been a rough ride. And people question Dean Smith's position. Of course, it's going to be a rough ride. People are going to be feeling negative and in doubt. That Fulham game, man, 30 minutes at the end may be really good. 60 minutes where it was really, really bad. And, some of the things you see tweeted and not just from us fans, but you see from like pundits. And I know, Ash, who we work with, and you see like, Ross Barkley's not on the bench and he's, not coming down the tunnel after half time. You're thinking, is that the club we are now then? Are we having this bit of dysfunction? I'm not saying Keenan Davis is a catalyst, but he comes on after, Jacob Ramsey comes on after Douglas Luiz kind of does a pirouette in our defensive third for whatever reason. You're thinking that's what we are now. Come out with a bit of dynamite, don't they? And not saying they changed the game, but clearly they must have done something because when those two players come on, you look at a different team and the urgencies of them. Tyrone Mings as well. He had the whole career in one game, didn't he? Sloppy mistakes makes up for it. So, mate, mental. It's really hard to say even how you feel because there's so much poor play. The scoreline's 3-1. Trezeguet as well. So many people you can talk about.
What did you think of his celebration? I've posted a picture on here. Put his hand, a gun to his head. And his finger like this, I think, as well.
yeah, man.
So running around like this at the corner flag. What are you doing, mate?
Yeah, but I don't know what statement that. I think it's like, don't write me off. And I think everyone he's got the right to prove people wrong. Everyone else got the right to criticise him, but he's got the right to prove people wrong. And he came on like, absolute hitman out there. I think the second shot he had, when it was just like a ballistic missile coming off his foot, and you think he's on it, isn't it, today? He really is on it. Comes on, scores a goal. Looks like he's going to get a second, then taps it in. It's, can't praise some of the people in that Villa squad enough. Like, I genuinely cannot because it was a performance for the character when it mattered.
Yeah, so, only 15 minutes though.
Yeah, it's 15 minutes that mattered though, isn't it? Like, Fulham might be thinking, well, we had the 60 minutes, but they needed points, mate. Like, and they ain't got them. So.
Yeah, I understand what you mean. It is a great comeback and it does show character, but I don't know if I'm at risk of sounding stupid here, which is every podcast. But I don't know whether I read too much into that last 15 minutes, even though Villa will turn it around. I'm more concerned by why it took it that far to beat Fulham and why we've been poor for several weeks without Jack. Why has it taken this long to try and play 4-4-2 and be a bit different? Why couldn't we have tried this weeks ago and maybe things have been different sooner? Why did it have to wait till 77 minutes against Fulham? We hadn't even had a shot on target till that point. So I'm a little bit still bogged down with how poor it was for that opening 70-odd minutes. Yeah, the last 20 was much better when we win the game, and that's the main thing. We all want to win games. But is that just papered over the cracks, as a few people in the comments are saying?
I don't know. Look, it was coming off the international break. it's never peak time for Villa. It's never peak time for football. Always takes a while to get back, kind of get going, as a cliche says. But just two sides like cancelling each other out, and you're thinking, if one side's going to give it away, like Villa's last 4 goals, it's just been gifts. The ones against Spurs that end at Newcastle, the goals that we're horrified by. It's not, and I don't want to do the other teams down and say, oh, they haven't been playing like they deserve it. We've just went, oh, you know what, have a few cracks at goal, or hey, have the ball on the line, or, have an open goal to shoot at. That's what we were. So, that match was heading for 0-0. And I think the commentator, Alan Smith, said, one moment of magic changes this. And I'm thinking, yeah, it's going to be a 1-0, isn't it? And it's going to be a 1-0 to Fulham because we're going to give them the ball. Tyrone Mings does what his critics would say has been on the cards for a while. And you're thinking, no way, Villa come back from this. No way. Yeah. They're not that side. Then they do it, so don't know where I'll stand. But look, I think however you feel about that match, you're absolutely bang on to feel that way. If you're disappointed because we had a bad 60 minutes, yeah, it was turgid, man. We've had bad weeks, we've had bad months. But if you're buzzing because of the comeback and while it shows we can be, that's fair enough. It's a game of two sides. It's going to be a game of split opinions because of the nature of it. But we won it. We won it and we wanted it.
Let's go through things in chronological order then. 3:30 this afternoon. No Jack Grealish in that starting lineup graphic that Villa posted on Twitter. There's a few rumblings on Twitter this morning that he wasn't going to be in there from people that seem to get things right every so often. So semi-prepared for it anyway, but you never think until the club confirm it is when we'll deal with it. Then you get people saying, oh, why can't Dean Smith just be honest with us? Why can't he just say yesterday, yesterday's press conference saying, Fulham, he'll play 99% sure and all the rest of it. And then you get round today, he doesn't play and everyone goes, why are we being lied to? I just want Jack to play. I want to be told the truth. When will we hear the extent of Jack Grealish's shin splint injury and all the rest of it? As far as I'm concerned, it's he trained this week, was okay, had a bit of a reaction yesterday, wasn't fit enough to play.
Yeah, I think
there's no lying.
Yeah, it's like you want to think there might be a conspiracy or something.
People like Villa have posted old photos of Grealish, old training photos. Those photos were taken this week.
Yeah, I struggle with that one. It's just I know why people are going to be infuriated because you buy into the fact that Villa aren't the same team without Grealish, and look, we're pretty rubbish with Grealish for a good few weeks. So it maybe comes back to teaming with dynamite and it replicates what we did in the Championship, and we go on a massive winning run and we're all happy. But I think fans just want to see Grealish back so badly because it's almost like you believe he's that catalyst and he is a special player. He can be that, but can't forget that we were bad for weeks with him. Against Brighton, we weren't making anything with him in the team. If he was playing with an injury or whatever. But I think people want to think there's a conspiracy or whatever. I think I'm like you. I feel like he's been fine. He's come back. He got into training. Whatever's happened in training, or maybe he wasn't completely ready. Pointless risking him if he's that good of a player. And then if we can find 20 minutes to be really good and score 3 goals, then against Fulham, I don't see the harm.
Yeah, exactly what we just said here from David. Why have we been lied to by Smith? I don't think it is a lie. As much as Jack Grealish is this amazing talent, he's had 7 weeks without playing. He's had 3 or 4 days training. I don't think he gets thrown straight in regardless of who it is. If it isn't Jack Grealish and it's a fringe player or someone who's in and around the squad and they get an injury and they're out for 6 or 7 weeks or however long it's been now, they don't come straight back in, do they? So I just don't think he's fit and ready to go. I think he's trained this week, so I think, fit, he'll play, but he's feeling a little bit tense. Don't want to risk it. There's no point. It's against Fulham. We probably should win, to be honest. And at a stage today, that would have all blown up in our faces, but we've won without him. So does it really matter? It's another week without him. He comes back next week, hopefully. And that's all there is to it. I don't think there is a case of Dean Smith lying and the club lying about him and posting old pictures and whatever conspiracy theories go out there. I just don't think he's ready.
Yeah, I think the Dean Smith thing and the Villa thing with injuries, it happens with every player. Like when Keenan Davis and Ross Barkley, when is he back? Oh, next week. When's he back? Oh, next week. Oh, he's getting better. It happens like when most players at Villa get injured. When are they back? Oh, they're back soon. 99% sure he'll be on the bench, not on the bench. It's amplified to about 1,000 times more when it comes to
we want to see it.
Yeah. So it's something that's been happening for ages, and it's not highlighted. And whether it's even a problem or not, it's not highlighted until it's Jack Grealish, and obviously everyone wants to see him back because Mr. Villa, and he's a special player. So it's that times by 1,000.
Yeah, it's just one of those things, and he'll be back when he's back, and it'll be frustrating until he's there, and that's as far as it goes. I don't think there's any mad conspiracy theory to go at.
Yeah,
Talking of conspiracy theories, let's talk about VAR and the nonsense that is VAR. First of all, was it a penalty on Watkins?
man. I don't know, because I don't even know like what constitutes a penalty, and you know what I mean. It's like
I don't know.
there's so much second
clear and
guess.
obvious.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, what is clear and obvious, because that wasn't clear and obvious to me enough to go back to the monitor. Then when they go back to the monitor, you're like, he's gonna change his mind.
And they only showed him one replay as well on the monitor.
The thing is though, if whether the Watkins one was dubious, and it probably was, like the McGinn one, like I thought that had more of a case. So I don't know, when it's like it moves out of phase of play, but football's so fluid that there's phases of play. It's like when Mings gave that goal and the Man City attacker was offside. It's like, oh, we changed the phase of play. It's like, yeah, it changed about 40 times from when the ball was travelling. The football's so fluid.
Yeah,
it is frustrating, man. The application of VAR is still something every fan has difficulty with. I don't see anyone really praising it massively. Probably not even the refs, really. It's just rough, and it's, you know, if we were in stadiums, we've all been there, and it was, you know, you're waiting minutes for a resolution, and it's not going to be the one you want. So I don't like it, man.
There's actually more people in the comments suggesting that it wasn't a penalty, more so than I thought. I was a little bit torn for a long time. I still thought it was a penalty, even when I saw it a couple of times, because it's so like, it's one of those ones where they seem to both get to the ball at the same time, and people saying, oh, the ball deviated. I think even sooner said it deviates off this way, so it has to be the Fulham player. It's like, yeah, but it could still get a nick off Watkins first and then go. But then that is the problem with our VAR, isn't it? You're getting so minute in the details that it's not worthy of being talked about. It looked like in the first real time that it was a penalty. The ref gives it. It's not an obvious error, so it should be left. Is how I think VAR should be used. And that's not because it's in favour of Villa. Then there's people saying, but if that was against Villa, we'd all be fuming about it. So again, it's one of those ones that fortunately it doesn't affect the result today. But again, just sick of VAR, to be honest, and just bored of it.
Yeah, on the Watkins one, like it swings and roundabouts. It's, you know, sometimes stuff like that gets given, sometimes it doesn't. My personal thought is it probably wasn't a penalty. Again, the McGinn one for me was more. But if you're reviewing that, then you're reviewing everything, and you're reviewing it so forensically. It's like, I thought VAR would be a really good introduction to the game. The idea is amazing, but in application, it's rough, and it's just it's so heavy on detail. It's like CSI Villa Park, like it's rough. It's so forensic and detailed. It's like the offsides on the millimeter and the toes and the little frame by frame of did he win the ball or not, and you couldn't really 100% tell. So the clear and obvious thing as well. It's just, and I ramble at this point, but VAR brings everyone to a rough time.
I can also guarantee they wouldn't even be looking at that McGinn one, because they'll just be attention on this Watkins thing and not even bothered about that. There's been ones where that's happened before, haven't they? When they're looking at an offside or whatever, and then not realising that there's a foul made before or whatever, and it's just, I don't know, it's weird. I don't think football should be analysed to that degree, but this is where we are at this point, so we have to deal with it.
Football ain't cricket or baseball. It don't happen in stages. It's a fluid game, and it needs a fluid officiating system, so we don't have that. Whatever.
What about Mings' error? The goal that was conceded was poor, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was bad. Again, his critics, people who've been, you know, they see some of the kind of almost nonsensical stuff he does sometimes when he's out of form, especially, and think, you know what, he's gonna chuck a game away for us one day if he hasn't already. And it happens, and you know, it comes up, and it's like he can't defend that. But what you can appreciate is the bounce back from it, the resilience to kind of go, you know what, I have chucked the game away, but I can get a new game going in the next half an hour. He had no, I don't know what he was thinking doing that, passing back to the goalkeeper. It was almost like far too pedestrian and far too casual. But the bounce back is what I'm more concerned about. You're going to make a mistake. Villa are going to make mistakes. They're a young football team, and they're an improving football team. It's how you bounce back from that, Dan, I think, is what defines you. Are you going to be characters? Are you going to strop and go, right, I've given the game away, we've lost this one now. That's on me. I'm just going to have a right, you know, episode about it. Or are you going to do what he did and get yourself in silly positions to make something happen somewhere where no centre back should be, almost. Yeah. And he cuts it across, and you know, he makes up for it by being determined to make up for the mistake. So, you know, full credit to him for that, because look, I don't think we'd be where we are without Tyrone Mings, especially in that match. We wouldn't have conceded if he wasn't so casual. But you know, he gives us the catalyst to improve and get on. So, you know, Not happy about the mistake, but I really am happy with how he got back into the game, mate.
Kind of flip-flopping all over the place here. There's ones where we've done these before where we've lost a couple of games and people start saying, oh, forget Europe, just stop talking about it. And to an extent, yeah, I'm a little bit sick of it. And then I see the league table and realise we're only, 5 points off that little cluster of teams on 49 points, I think they are, and we're on 44. Possibly 45. My post-match live brain isn't into gear at the moment, but we're not a million miles away from European spots. So part of me is like, yeah, I'm sick of talking about it. I don't think Villa will get there. They certainly, at this point, they're definitely not ready for it, but obviously there's a summer window before now and next season and potentially Europa League anyway. But there's people in the comments saying like, oh, the European tour's back on. So I don't know whether people are just being a little bit, sarcastic and, getting carried away with the win and all the rest of it, or people do think, well, yeah, it's 5 points away and it could still be done. Simon Hudson, Europe's still on. There's a game in hand as well. And what do we think about Europe? It's not impossible, but the way Villa are, up until the 77th minute today, we'd be going, no chance Villa are going to fall off a cliff and finish around mid-table, and that'll be that. But Jack Grealish should come back hopefully soon. If Villa do get, 9 games left, if they win 5 of 9, there's a decent chance they would get into Europe. It's not impossible.
No. It's not impossible. I think the best thing to say is I think we want to come to conclusions and kind of get the anxiety of the rest of the season over. We all want to know where we end up. It's like last season, people were said, we're relegated, just accept it. Don't believe we're going to stay up, because they want that they want to cut the cord of that anxiety. But yeah, just enjoy the ride. Wherever we end up, it's enjoy it. If we get to Europe, we get to Europe, and that's fantastic. If we don't, whatever, we don't need to we can make those predictions, but we don't need to hang our hat on it now. Be fluid, and if just enjoy the ride. If we get into Europe, that's fantastic. If we don't, we've certainly done a lot better than last season. I know people are sick of that line, but the proof will be there. So let's see. Don't worry about it. If Villa can do that, then ideally they can pick up the pace a bit earlier on and save us the trouble.
What's your gut feeling? Do you think we'll get into it or not?
I think we could perform well enough to definitely have the question. It's just how that league table is going to like on the final game. Whether West Ham are going to kick on and make it difficult for us to get top 7. Whether Everton, are going to kick on as well. So I think we got it about us, especially if Jack Grealish comes back. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see, man. Don't want to make that prediction. What about you? You always ask me for predictions.
Yeah, my gut is that we won't. We've got some difficult games left this season. We'll win a couple, 3 or 4 out of the last 9 or so, and still we'll have a decent end to the season, but not enough to get into Europe. But then there's people in the comments saying, like, do we even need it? Do we want European football? Yes.
What do you want?
I want if not, football. Yeah. I don't see why you'd turn your nose up at playing at a higher level. Somebody says we haven't even got the squad depth for the league, let alone Europe, but there's a transfer window between now and the start of the next season, so surely you would be ready by then. If someone said to you now, you can play in Europe next year, do you want it? Yes or no? And that's all it laid on. You'd say yes, wouldn't you? You don't turn it down for no reason. Yeah,
100%. Look, I think Villa will have opportunities to compete in Europe down the line as well. I really do believe that. But just look at a side like Hull, for example, and they had 1 season in Europe, and it was something that fans look back on fondly. You ain't got the squad for that, mate. Don't go. You want that. You want every chance to go to Europe possible, and that applies for smaller sides, mid-tier sides, and big sides. You want to go to Europe every season, regardless.
It's also more likely you keep players like Jack Grealish if you're playing in European competition. If people are commenting, and this is just a live free-flowing debate at this point, if you're one of the people that's saying you don't want Europe next season, give me a reason why as well, and we'll come back to it. I'm genuinely interested why you wouldn't want European football next season. Dean says, I want to enjoy football in the Premier League first. Why Europe when we can't even beat the City, United and Chelsea's? But then next season you might beat City, United and Chelsea and go on and beat teams in Europe as well. Do you know what I mean? It's next season. Why? I don't know why you'd turn it down, but I'm intrigued to see why.
You can only grow by facing different types of opposition and playing in different tournaments and succeeding, not just in England, but elsewhere. So I get the depth thing, but as you said, we have a transfer window. I want to get better in the Premier League first, but
they're not mutually exclusive though.
You get better in the Premier League, you're going to finish in Europe anyway. So the only difference is, I get it. I get the concern about getting relegated and finishing in Europe by winning a cup. We want those European nights. We want that European success. We want to travel Europe when that's allowed again. Get it done. If you get in this season, that's a bonus. If you get in next season, wow, it's enjoy it. If we land in Europe, I don't see the negative side of that. It's a good negative to have. If you fall off in the league and you finish 11th next season because you've had to go away to Ajax in the quarterfinal of the Europa League, you know what I mean? Yeah,
we were in the Championship 2 years ago. Like, why would you turn that down? As people said, the only negative reason I've seen so far is you said you get more injuries, your squad gets tired out. Everyone else is like more money to spend, bigger incentive for players to come and sign. Like, there's more positive reasons to get into Europe than not, I think. Still yet to see any serious reasons to say why they don't want Europe next season. So we'll come back to that if we get to it. Danny says, if we don't get Europe, I'd like to see us go strong in the cups and win a trophy. I'd love to see us win a trophy.
Mate, even if it's just I was going to say the Community Shield, but you need to win a trophy to get into it.
Let's talk about the substitutions then. I tweeted just as Trezeguet scored, subs don't make a difference though. And after he scored the second, someone replied to me like what are you talking about? And I was like, no, my tweet was to take the mick out of everyone who, as soon as Trezeguet come on, they went, Trezeguet, waste of space, no point. What are they bringing him on for? Davis, he's not going to contribute towards a goal. What's he bringing him on for? And Davis gets the assist and Trezeguet bags 2 and turn the game around. Now, it doesn't always work like that. There's been a lot of substitutions that Dean Smith have made that are pointless, and you think, he doesn't know what he's doing here. That sub won't make a difference. But today, it all worked as expected, and Dean Smith masterclass based on that past 15 minutes.
Don't know about masterclass, but it was good to see, mate, and it was good to see like a Davis come on. Not that I thought at that point he was going to come on and change the game, but 66 minutes when he's been coming on at like 88, 79, 80, it's an extra 10 minutes, the extra stage of the game to play. So it was nice. It was nice to see players come on with almost like nothing to lose in the best way. Like Douglas Luiz, as you said, the squad looked just depleted. They looked demoralised. They looked like we know we've lost this. Douglas Luiz is there pirouetting in the defensive third. It's like, that's not the nothing to lose we want. We want the nothing to lose where you're just gunning for them and you're running and chasing down every ball and you're actually looking. Look, I'm not saying that they don't care, but there's a caring and looking like you care. And there's like a separate level to that. And, Ray Davis came on and chased down every ball. Just, it took pressure off so many Villa players. Trezeguet as well. Again, I've said it before, can't commend them enough. Even if it is just one game, they don't come on and blow away, the next opposition down the road. It's like came on and made a difference today. So full credit to the substitutions and credit to Dean Smith for making them a bit earlier as well. Yeah,
that's what we needed. It's a change of formation as well, isn't it? Going to up top and actually having a system that seems to suit us better. Davis and Watkins playing up front together because the midfield has been an issue. So when we're aimlessly putting balls into the box, at least there's extra bodies in the box with 2 up front. Do you think that's something that we might persist with, a 4-4-2?
Maybe.
I don't, personally. When Jack comes back, it's a wide 3, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like building the team without Jack. And if you believe what Villa say or what Dean Smith says, he could be back the next game or the next game, and it's telling you building the side without him, even though he's a player you need to build around.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's always that kind of magic bullet people expect. You put 2 up top, you win games, and you do better even after a slump. I don't know, man. In this situationally, we did all right. Again, a lot of people saying I don't see the harm. Me either. And if you're going to do it, now's the time, I guess. If we feel negative or positive, now's the time to prove why it wouldn't work, because why not?
When we were still losing the game, there's people on Twitter saying, just throw the kids in. We've got nothing to lose now. Yeah. We're not going to go down. We're not going to get into Europe. What's the harm in playing the kids? Do you see? I mean, as we said before, there's still a slight possibility we'll get into Europe. But is it a stage of just chucking more kids in? Because I don't know how I feel about that. It comes around as a cliche with every club towards the end of the season when they know they're probably going to be mid-table. We've spoken about this before. We work on other clubs. I do a lot of stuff for Stoke City in our area. And they've had a season where they're not going to get in playoffs. They're not going to go down. And every time I do a Facebook Live with the Stoke City reporters, all their fans are saying is, play the youngsters. We've got nothing to lose now. Blood the youngsters. Get them involved. And no club ever really seems to throw youngsters in towards the end of the season. You might get 1 or 2 here getting 5 minutes, or someone who's never played before gets 2 minutes in their first team debut on the last day of the season. The team doesn't make 3 or 4 changes and chuck kids in for the sake of it for 5 or 6 games to go. So Villa won't do that. They'll persist with their first team and hope they can get some positive results.
Yeah, just to keep it really short, I think when things aren't going the best, fans want to see change, whether that's a formation, a player being dropped, another player being brought in, or the kids being bloody. I mean, if you had to bring Kessler, Chukwuemeka, Louis Barry in that's 3 positions changing on the squad, on the bench, which is like a huge change in terms of personnel. So it just represents a change, and that change means you might see something different on the pitch. We can all agree what we've been seeing hasn't been the best. So I think it's just natural that when people see things going wrong, even if it's not completely falling off a cliff, the natural thing is blood the kids, because that represents the biggest change to the personnel possible, I guess.
I just had a tweet. I wasn't listening, by the way, but I'm reading as well. I had a tweet saying, have we been playing Keenan Davis in the wrong position, and is he more likely to end up as a winger than a striker? And we're judging him on his goal score is the wrong thing to do, because he can run down the channel and hold people off and put balls in. I mean, he's done that once today and put a ball in and got an assist off the back of it, so now all of a sudden he's a winger, but he's a striker, isn't he? A striker that doesn't score goals. And to the last point of that probably does make sense. Yeah, you shouldn't judge him on his goals alone, because he probably does bring more to that if we got to see him more often. His hold-up play is his strength, more so than his goal-scoring ability. But I think with Keenan Davis, he has to play in a 2 up top, doesn't he? And that's not going to be with Villa, I don't think.
Yeah, look, from our perspective, we haven't seen nearly enough of Keenan Davis to even make any assumption of where he could fit in. He hasn't barely started games since that run of games under Steve Bruce. I know it's easy to go on Wikipedia and go, look, he's made 51 or whatever appearances. Those have been minutes and minutes and minutes here and there in short spells. He has played on the wing a few times, and he's always looked like there is some kind of impact there. But whether you're saying like he's going to be the starting winger for Villa, it's difficult. But we're all expecting some kind of change now to come after this match, and whether it's Keenan Davis starting in place of Al Ghazi on the wing or 2 up top, I simply don't know. I assume Dean Smith will do what he's always done, stick to the guns, and we'll see kind of the same-ish formation next time, fortunately for Davis.
There's an interesting point from Rich here that I'll probably will end on. He says, how much should the opposition mean you change your style of play? Fulham this week, Liverpool next. We've heard Smith, I think, say things like horses for courses and different players for different teams and stuff, but we all seem to play the same lineup. Is it a thing to do that, to change the system or change players specifically for different games? Or do you just stick with what you know?
Probably depends on like the individual philosophy of a club, I guess. I mean, if you've got a certain way of playing, do you want to rip the script up because Man City are coming to town, or do you want to tweak certain things that could make it slightly like 2% more difficult for them? Yeah. I don't know. With Villa, though, I think you would obviously tweak how you play to face Liverpool than you do Fulham, but ripping the script up and playing like a flat back 5 to take on Liverpool wouldn't be, it wouldn't be my way of doing things. You'd still want the same kind of overall philosophy. You wouldn't want to change the entire identity of your team each and every week, because it's just, I think people thrive when it's comfortable, and changing those roles week in, week out can be difficult. 1 or 2 things here, inserting Nakamba to be a bit more of a ball-winning midfielder than Douglas Luiz, for example, would be a positive thing. Changing the entire setup of the team and the way you play, probably not for Villa, because I don't think it'll be quite a comfortable situation.
And just to finish finally, Ross Barkley, because it wouldn't be a podcast without talking about him. We need a creative midfielder with Jack being out for so long. Doesn't really get a sniff. Today, losing against Fulham, and Jacob Ramsey comes on ahead of him, doesn't even get off the bench. Is that him done at Villa now, do you think?
We'll see. I wouldn't want to.
Very political, these answers. They're very on the fence. I
want the best for Ross Barkley, because if he gets the best right now, that's really good for Villa. If he finds the form of his life, that's really good for Villa. So I want to sit here and write him off. But I think with Ash tweeting that he wasn't around when we come back out, and it's just like, Keenan Davis's heart is in it. Jacob Ramsey's heart in it. Douglas Luiz, even though he was casual, at the end, his heart was in it. Tyrone Mings, even though the casual sake, his heart was in it. Is Ross Barkley 110% committed to the Aston Villa project? And I couldn't say. And that's what makes it difficult for me, mate. Is I'm not sitting here I don't want to be here to sit and write Ross Barkley off, because we all know the player he can be. If he's that player, that's really good for Villa. So ideally, it comes back in the next game, but you never know. It is things, and the evidence is there that it's not likely, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think we'll see dribs and drabs of Barkley for the rest of the season. Then he'll go back to Chelsea, and he's their problem, basically, to deal with, not ours. Yeah. Paul says, where's Kendrick? Part-timer these days. We spoke about this on a previous podcast, didn't we, that we'd be on our own today. And he texted the group chat before we started. I'm going to show it just because the wording is funny. I don't know whether you want to see it on here. He says, I'm off to waddle around a 5-a-side pitch. That was 25 minutes ago in our podcast group chat. So maybe Matt Kendrick's doing better on the other side pitch than Villa were in the first half today. But it's a funny sight, isn't it?
Yeah.
Tom also says, "Where's the baldy man?" Which, to be fair, I'm quite glad that I've not been given the bald shout with Matt not on the podcast. To be fair,
I did see an injury, not an injury. I did see a comment that said since his injury has been no good, and I thought that was about Matt Kendrick. But obviously, it's on a delay. I was like, is that good? It's getting more minutes than Ross anyway. To be fair.
Yeah, that's true. He'd probably do a better job than Ross Barkley as well. I don't know what position he is. I'm sure he's a left back. We'll ask him the next time he does a podcast. Somebody remind us in the comments.
I doubt he's got the speed for an overlap. I don't want to sit here and
yeah, but it's five-a-side, isn't it? There's not much to do.
Five-a-side left back,
yeah.
I thought he was playing 11-a-side.
Nah, he's five-a-side, I think.
Oh, so he's just sitting there kind of doing nothing.
Yeah, just punt long balls up and try and shoot from the halfway line. That's what I'd do. Yeah, five-a-side. We'll ask him next week. We'll find out how Matt did and give him a player rating. I know your favourite thing to do. So thanks everyone for tuning in this afternoon on Easter Sunday. I was going to try and make some kind of joke about resurrection and Villa bringing things back to life on Easter Sunday. But I couldn't work it out properly in my head to get it out. So along those lines. But yeah, thanks, James, for joining me. Thanks to the almost 500 people watching this live on Facebook and YouTube this evening for tuning in. We do appreciate it. We'll be back at some point during the week to chat all things Villa. Ash Priest will be reporting on whatever's going on. And we've also got a big interview with Brian Little coming out on Tuesday, the 6th of April. So stay tuned for that as well. That's a really good watch. And you've seen it as well, James. And not to blow our own trumpet, but I mean, we're not blowing our own trumpet. It's Brian Little talking for an hour and a half. Like it's him being very good. So come back for that. We'll be back for the next game against Liverpool as well. So cheers for watching all, and we'll be back soon.
Yeah, up the Villa.
Thank you for listening to Claret and Blue, an Aston Villa podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, then please do let us know. We love hearing your feedback. We'll be back soon with another episode, but until then, up the Villa.